we'll close this out. We have a couple of coaching segments to do, but we're going to close out with your coaching segment. We'll tease the top 5 right now. But first, I just want to do a little update on the coaching cycle, the NFL coaching cycle. We've had one hiring already. Mike Vrabel, that was kind of projected, pretty easily predicted that Mike Vrabel.
It was written in the tea leaves that he was going there.
Oh yeah, and it's just a year late, which is wild to me that he was, he was available to the Patriots last year. They had already just put Gerard Mayo in the inheritance cycle that he would inherit the team, and credit where credit's due to admit when you're wrong, and to for the Patriots to admit that they tried and gave him a chance there, I guess. But it's a little.
About to say that Rooney Rule is really working out for everybody, right?
Well, tell me about the Rooney Rule. What is there anything that can be done with the Rooney Rule when you have a team like the Patriots? Everybody knows that they want Mike Vrabel or maybe Ben Johnson. It seemed like that was a possible contender there, or they could have just been flashing that to, say that they were actually doing a search. But then you go and interview Pep Hamilton, who was a former offensive coordinator for the Texans. He was former head coach of the DC Defenders XFL team. And he has not been a coordinator in the league this past season. And they go and interview Byron Leftwich, who he was fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as their offensive coordinator a couple seasons ago. Was not in the NFL as a coach this season. They interview those two for their head coaching positions because you have to satisfy the Rooney Rule requirements in the NFL when trying to hire either a coach or GM, whatever. And you have to interview 2 minority candidates who are outside of the team. They just said, hey,
nope.
Pep, Byron, y'all want dinner? Like we can do this at the same time. We'll interview you 2 at the same time.
Group interview.
Let's do it. Your choice. What do we do? Because I understand the logic of the Rooney Rule. At the very core of it, it is to give minority candidates a foot in the door. Like you're just giving them a guaranteed opportunity to talk to people that might not ever talk to them if they didn't have to. And maybe you make an impression. Maybe you make enough of an impression that it keeps you as a contender year to year. But it feels slightly embarrassing. It feels slightly discouraging when you because there's some coaches, they have to know. They have to know that they're just a Rooney Rule requirement. You don't have to take the interview, but you're strongly encouraged to, because what other opportunity are you going to get? Maybe you can truly sell yourself on this interview. I don't know what you do, because you don't want to be a DEI hire either. You don't want to just be, you can't say, hey, you have to hire a black head coach at some point in your ownership tenure. But what's the point of it at this point?
At optics, that the NFL is trying to help the situation. But yeah, I mean, it mandates league teams must interview at least one woman and one underrepresented minority in the slate of candidates for senior and coaching positions. And then also, I think a lot of people forget that I believe that there's actual draft picks that are associated with this rule. I believe teams receive 3rd round selections in each of the next 2 drafts, or each of the next 3 drafts if 2 minority employees are hired by another team. So it's like, oh, so I can just get extra draft picks if I just hire a person of color?
Basically.
Just keep a little bit and let them go. I still got the picks. You're gone, but I still got the picks. But it's like you said, it's like you want people to get opportunities at these types of positions based off the content of their bodies of work, right? In every walk of life, whether it's the NFL, your personal life, your whatever career path you take, you want to have a shot of getting a job of your dreams based off of the content of the things that you've done to get to that point. But in the world of business, there's no heart in business. It's all about money. It's all about what you can do for me kind of at the end of the day. So me as an owner of an NFL franchise or a GM, all I'm obligated to do with you in the Rooney Rule is give you an interview. That's it. And I did my part. I don't have to give you the job. I mean, hell, a lot of these jobs and coaching things, they've already been decided, i.e. the Mike Vrabel situation. You know, you already knew as soon as they knew they were going to let Gerard Mayo go, Mike Vrabel was probably on the phone within hours. And Robert Kraft already knew what he was going to be trying to do. They probably already got in their ear, and they made a decision from there. But that's a lot of companies and a lot of corporations have that kind of process. But I honestly don't know what could fix it at this point, because like you said, you can't mandate teams to do it.
No.
And at that point, Reid, would you feel comfortable working for a company that hired you simply because you're black and you're just filling out that little checkbox? No, yeah. I would want somebody to hire me for my body of work and what I've been able to do in the previous roles and go from there. But of course, that's not the reality of the nature of work, the whole world at this point. But I honestly don't know what you can fix.
I mean, at that point, like, it just becomes, you become the one and done coach. Like, that's what you're going to get hired for a lot of these teams. You remember David Culley, the Texans coach right before DeMeco Ryans? Mm-hmm. And you knew why he was there. You knew what was going to happen, and he got fired as quick as you knew that. And it's just like, honestly, the draft pick compensation kind of clarification to that rule, where somebody gets a minority candidate gets hired from your team, you get draft pick compensation for it. That I don't mind it. Like, you're incentivizing it, but it does provide opportunities not only for, it's not really, the team that's hiring that coach doesn't get anything totally out of it except for that coach, but it does incentivize teams to hire minority candidates and put them in positions to succeed and put them in positions to get hired as soon as possible, honestly, so that you can get that draft pick compensation, because other teams aren't going to be hiring your coach just to help you get a draft pick. So you're putting them in a position to succeed here. It still just feels like you're using people. And I would love for it to get to the position where, where we don't have to have a conversation about race and coaching, but it still continues to happen. Like, it's better in the NFL than it was a couple years ago, where I think Anthony Lynn and somebody else got fired in the same season or in the same offseason.
Morris?
It might have been somebody. They got fired in the same year, and all of a sudden we were left with like Tomlin as the one black coach in the NFL at that point. It's just, I don't know where we go from here. And thankfully there are some really great candidates this year. Even Aaron Glenn with Detroit is an awesome candidate. Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator for Washington, just got an interview request by the Jets. Even Robert Saleh is, getting some interest from the Jaguars. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
I only get two. But there's just, I don't know. It's a tough situation overall. I still would like to see Pep Hamilton get a head coaching spot, even though he got that interview. I'd love to see him get a head coaching opportunity. I want to bring up a Rooney Rule option for you here, because the Dallas Cowboys are the latest team since we talked about this all. Not fired Mike McCarthy. They let him go in petty fashion. I fully believe.
They didn't agree on contract terms.
That's the official word. They denied the Chicago Bears' request to interview Mike McCarthy for their head coaching position last week. They had 1 week to do contract negotiations with McCarthy. Nothing came about it. The way I looked at it was pettiness on Jerry Jones' part. He just doesn't want McCarthy to go. He knew that he wasn't going to re-sign McCarthy, but fuck it, I'm not going to let him talk to another team. And it would have sucked if the Bears had already filled that spot, because I still think McCarthy could be a good candidate for that team.
Brian Flores.
Yeah, but it's just, why would Dallas wait a week, and especially a crucial week? Because last week was the time when you could have open conversations with coaches that are on those bye-week playoff teams, i.e. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions, Aaron Glenn, Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. That was a crucial time for Dallas. I don't think they have a shot at getting Ben Johnson. I don't think Ben Johnson would want to be micromanaged by Jerry Jones.
No.
I think Jerry Jones knows that too. I still think Aaron Glenn would be a great candidate. I said that in our coaching candidates segment before. But you would look at it and think, like, maybe Jerry's got something up his sleeve. Maybe there's a big fish out there. And what is the immediate report from Jordan Schultz the same day? That the Dallas Cowboys are indeed interested in Deion Sanders. Coach Prime from Colorado. Coach Prime's got interest in them. There's some slight talks. Do you think, Scott, that this is real? Could all the conspiracy theories be true? That Prime goes to Dallas, they trade Dak Prescott to Tennessee for the number 1 pick. So that way, the Dallas Cowboys can take Shedeur Sanders at number 1. Deion gets to coach his son in Dallas. Jerry gets to sell as much Coach Prime merchandise as he wants. The team continues to go 9-8 and 10-7. Like, at best. Is this real? Or is this just Jerry Jones being a prime attention whore and making the most glorified Rooney Rule interview that anybody has ever had in the NFL?
Yes to all. Yes to everything that she said. No, I couldn't have put it better myself. To answer your question that you had earlier on, why did he wait so long? Because it's Jerry Jones. Why did he wait so long to give CeeDee Lamb his contract?
Why did he wait so long to give Dak his contract?
Because he just runs on Jerry's time. It's Jerry's world. It's going to go on. It's going to happen at Jerry's time. Why did he not let Cooper Rush play to get his incentive money? I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you did. You are a tightwad, and you have that pocketbook right on you. That's going to be buried in your coffin with you. No, actually, it's going to get incinerated because he's going to hell. But anyways,
Not if he's like the Landman version of Jerry Jones on that guest spot he did.
It's just going to make such an insufferable fan base even more insufferable having Deion and Shedeur there at the same time. But I think for Tennessee, if their approach, like Tennessee better have the cojones to come back at a Jerry. But like, no, if you want this pick, we're going to need, ample compensation. We're not just swapping picks and getting Dak. No, we're swapping picks, Dak, and you're going to have to give me the next 2 ones from here on out.
Well, yeah, that's where I can't get over the gall of that scenario that some fans and reporters are putting out there. Like, you're not going to get Dak Prescott for the number 1 overall pick, especially him coming off an injury. Nah, you're going to have to throw in 12th overall with it and maybe another first to jump up there.
Yeah, because could you imagine if they did that and they still retained the 12th overall pick? So you get Shedeur at 1, and then you follow it up with Ashton Genty at 12, and you have Deion there, and you have CeeDee Lamb there already. Like, it's just like no one's going to bite on that. And Tennessee, God help you with that conversation. But do I see it being a possibility? Yes, but a very, very, very slim possibility.
I think it's a medium possibility that this could happen. It seems just crazy enough and just Dallas enough to happen. But it's like it would be a disaster because and I know what your thoughts on Deion are, but like to me, he is a perfectly fine college coach. I wouldn't say that he's a really good college football coach. I'd say he's fine to good. But it has shown nothing to me as to why he would be a good or even mediocre NFL head coach. I think he works in college because he speaks to those young dudes. He can recruit those young dudes. That's not going to mean shit in the NFL. Like, you have players that will go to Dallas just for Dallas' sake. They'll think Deion's cool, but they won't really give a shit. Most of if you try to recruit cornerbacks, they're all going to say, well, shit, I'm better than Deion anyway. I looked up to 21. That's why I wear 21. I'm the new 20. Like ego, everything is different. It's money, everything in the NFL. That's not what he does with Colorado is not going to work in the NFL. And I'm not convinced that Shedeur Sanders is going to be that much better than Dak Prescott than what you've had at peak Dak Prescott.
He won't be.
No.
He won't be that good. And to your point, yeah, I mean, just ask Shady McCoy how he feels about Chip Kelly. Like, that college approach in the NFL does not work. Like it just rubs people really the wrong way. And if it isn't Deion, like you said, a lot of people are gonna, as much as being the head coach for the America's team, Dallas Cowboys, as much as that would be amazing, I think that's kind of at the top of a lot of head coaches lists and people throughout the league. They would love to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But if I got to deal with Jerry, no, I ain't dealing with that, especially with a lot of these older coaches who've been around the league for a while. Like Mike McCarthy, he's probably not going to get another head coaching job anywhere. He's probably going to have to step down to be an OC somewhere. Maybe he reunites with Dan Quinn if Cliff Kingsbury leaves. He goes and they swap roles. So now Dan Quinn's the head coach and he's the OC and blah, 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 blah. But it's either Deion or Jerry's only other option is a young and up and coming hopeful head coach, i.e. Kellen Moore, who's the OC right now in Philly. We see all the success that's going on in Philly right now. I think that's enough to kind of propel him into a potential head coaching spot. And he already has the reputation in there in Dallas, being the OC in Dallas the last couple of years. I really have my chips in that bucket, but I'm still not counting out the Deion Sanders thing at all.
I could see the Deion thing happening, but I could also see it flame out spectacularly. I could also see it being a leverage play for Deion if he's trying to jump up, maybe either in pay at Colorado because, his sons aren't there. So what the fuck is he? You better pay me. You better better up that credit line that you were already using to sign my original contract. Or I see something a little more realistic, like you just said, either Kellen Moore from Philly, which would, it would be kind of silly because you could have had that a few years back. You could have done that already, but I still think he would be open to coming back.
Jerry's time.
Yeah, and being the head coach there. And you take the coordinator, the young rising coordinator that's helped vibe up that offense in Philly. You take that away from a division rival. Or he tries to go eye for an eye and take, we took Dan Quinn from them. He tries to take Cliff Kingsbury from us and inserts Kingsbury. Because I wouldn't think, just because this rivalry's been interesting and Dan Quinn has been trying to stoke the flames on everything and get it all back, I don't know if Kingsbury would go to Dallas just out of loyalty to Quinn and Washington right now with what he's had. But also, if Kingsbury wants to be a head coach again and wants to live that bachelor lifestyle and be, the hot young coach that he was in Arizona at the start, Dallas is the place. Dallas would be a hell of a place for him to go.
Or he'll just wait out Mike McDaniel to take over Miami in the next 2 years when Mike McDaniel's actually forced out.
Oh, my God. Cliff in Miami would be dangerous.
Oh, no.
Just for everybody's sake. Maybe not on the football field, but everywhere else. Oh, my God. It's gonna be an interesting case there. And like you said with Mike McCarthy, I'll go the opposite on that route. Like, it's what I've told, Dallas fans. Producer Angela has hated Mike McCarthy. My only argument against getting rid of him is, who are you going to get that's better right now in Dallas than Mike McCarthy? Because I'm not going to call Mike McCarthy a bad head coach. I think that he is a fine coach. I'll give him fine. And I don't blame him for what happened this year. Maybe for some coaching mistakes during the season, but you got completely handicapped by your GM, Jerry Jones, in what are you supposed to do with the run game? A good run game has been helping Dak Prescott over the years. It's been crucial for him since he came in with Ezekiel Elliott. You get rid of Tony Pollard, which is fine. I understand. You let him go after the injury that he had, and you don't want to pay him $14 million for that. That's okay. But to have a backup plan, at least. Don't go in with Rico Dowdle in mind. Who the hell is Rico Dowdle? You have Josh Jacobs there. You have Saquon Barkley there. You have Derrick Henry there. You have J.K. Dobbins and free. There were so many options for them to go out and get. And what do they wind up with? They wind up with Rico Dowdle re-signing the corpse of their last great center, Ezekiel Elliott, at running back, and to the gall to bring him back, and he changes his number so the people that had the Zeke jerseys before it's not even relevant really anymore. And then they go pick up the even dustier corpse of Dalvin Cook who I never saw play. I just know he was there. He was just there on the practice squad, but I can't remember him ever playing.
I don't think he did.
You had options in the draft. Austin Eckler was out there in free agency too. I think he would have fit just fine in Dallas.
Well, and Rico Dowdle's up for contract again this year. It's like, are you going to resign him, or are you going to try to go after somebody?
No, they're going to go sign Emmett from the Tostitos commercial.
They're going to go sign a Nyheim Hines or Chase Edmonds.
So, like, what were you supposed to do if you're Mike McCarthy? Like, your run game gets tossed, your center doesn't get resigned, and Tyler Biadasz, who has a great season with Washington, and that's a crippling part on the O-line there. Stephon Gilmore, we talked about in Minnesota, he was at the very least, a leadership presence on that defensive backfield last year. Mm-hmm. And you just let him go, and you let him sit in free agency all summer without even a sniff at it. There's nothing to help on the defensive run game. I don't know what McCarthy was expected to do this year besides 7 to 9 wins at most on this team. And I still think that he can be a culture guy like he was in Green Bay. That was obviously, you can't do shit without Jerry signing in Dallas. Mm-mm. Put him in Chicago. I think Chicago would be an actual good spot for Mike McCarthy to, just get things on track, get Caleb Williams on track. If Caleb Williams is as good as what people have said he's supposed to be and what people told us he was supposed to be, then I don't see why he can't be a second coming of what the Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy regime was in Green Bay, and potentially even just slip your way into a Super Bowl win or a Super Bowl appearance with Mike McCarthy as your head coach. And at worst, you just get competent culture and a good fix and get on the right path in Chicago, and you fire him in 4 to 5 years, and you pick up whatever young up and comer and can impress somebody. Maybe Marcus Freeman after he's won a couple more titles with Notre Dame.
I mean, yeah, I think Chicago is kind of is one of the top landing spots for Mike McCarthy. Chicago, here's what they do. They sign and trade Mike McCarthy to Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh. They trade him there. They bring Mike Tomlin over to Chicago.
I could see that too. I could have seen that if you did a little swap for Mike McCarthy for Mike Tomlin.
And I know Jerry Jones has come out stating time and time again he refuses to relinquish control of GM responsibilities, and not even this year's this year's free agents, but next year, who's up for a contract next year, Donovan Wilson, who's the aging safety. But then you got Tyler Smith, your stud left guard, mm-hmm. Jalen Tolbert, who busted out on the scene this year, so he's going to get some money next year. Micah Parsons is up for contract. Jake Ferguson's up for contract. So Brandon Aubrey, who's been the kicker for the Cowboys since I think the dawn of time. But you have a lot of money you're about to have to drop. So if you're going to try to entice Micah Parsons to stay in Dallas, because I think he's in the George Pickens camp of being fuck this, I'm out kind of situation. If you want to have even a chance of retaining that talent, you're going to have to bring in somebody who's going to be able to turn it around fast, and you just need to let go a little bit.
That's it.
But it is fun watching Dallas squirm, right?
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun, but
we end on a high note.
It's irritating too, but it's so much fun. And go check out Jerry Jones on Landman, Paramount Plus. Apparently he's getting into it.
I want to be close to my daughter. Those 4 gas wells. Paid for the Cowboys.
Before we close the loop on the NFL coaching cycle and get into your top 5, are there any other interests in the coaching landscape right now for you? I'm hearing Ben Johnson might be the front runner for the Raiders job, but little warning to you Raiders fans that are getting very excited about that. Coming from a Commanders fan who was getting very excited about our second interview with him last year. Don't put all your chips in the basket yet. Just let him make his decisions first before you get all excited. Start doing your research on Aaron Glenn, Brian Flores.
Aaron Glenn, I like a New Orleans shout for Aaron Glenn.
Yes,
he just oozes New Orleans Saints head coach. I don't know what it is about him.
Well, he came from there too. He was there with Campbell. Yeah, he was there with Campbell.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm having that word association with him. I do like the Ben Johnson shout to the Raiders, but like you said, temper your expectations a little bit. But I know the Raiders also fired GM Tom Telesco. Wouldn't it be crazy if Tom Brady, minority owner of the Raiders, assumes the GM role responsibilities in Vegas? I mean,
that was the old.
He does have questionable money managing concerns.
Yeah, a little bit.
Crypto and whatnot. So you want to make sure not to give him total control of the pocketbook there. But I do like the Ben Johnson shout. If it's not Ben Johnson, what would be crazy? Could you see a world where Pete Carroll gets enticed to come back to the NFL?
I mean, he's not getting totally like enticed. Like he's had an interview with the Bears, and I believe he has an interview somewhere else lined up. I'll look into that.
But I'm interested to see what the Jags do. I really like Joe Brady, the current Bills offensive coordinator, to go to the Jags. Maybe he can turn the ship around a little bit after Dougie P going 22-29 during his 3-year tenure there. The Bears, yeah, if it's not Mike McCarthy, I would really like them to get some kind of other offensive minded coach, like a Joe Brady or maybe a Cliff Kingsbury going in there, since he's I guess deemed the quarterback whisperer. Maybe throw him in Chicago, see how he does for his second crack at a head coaching job. But Brian Flores, defensive coordinator there for the Vikings. I don't know after this last game against the Rams how much that hurts his potential head coaching stock, but that'll be interesting to see from here on out. But I really would love to know what's going to happen with the Jets. Do you have any names? Matt Nagy retread. Maybe. I don't know who you get. I don't know who you can entice. It's kind of like it's drawing parallels to Dallas. Like now you got to deal with Woody Johnson and the Jets. Like who? Like I don't think you can entice a top tier head coaching candidate to go there.
I don't want to believe that Rex Ryan would get a second. Like it's insane to think of Rex Ryan getting a second shot as the Jets head coach. But like you said, who the hell are they going to do? Like it's going to have to be a retread like Matt Nagy or something like that. Like they're talking to Joe Witt Jr. Like nobody is interested in the Jets head coaching job. I saw that they were interviewing Mike Greenberg for their GM spot. And it's some assistant executive in the NFL named Mike Greenberg, not the ESPN personality who's also a huge Jets fan, Mike Greenberg. But when I saw that, nothing clicked in my head that told me, oh, that's insane that the Jets would hire Mike Greenberg from ESPN to be their GM. I could totally see that with the Jets. They're in a complete shit position. Who would want to go there? So yeah, if I had to put some predictions here, right? Aaron Glenn to the Saints. I'll give you the report right now. You brought up Pete Carroll. According to reporter George Offman, the Bears are, quote, enamored with Carroll following his presentation with the team. And after following the news that Ben Johnson is looking like he's going to be the Raiders coach and that they're going to lose out on him, apparently the Bears are now the front runner, and Pete Carroll is the front runner to be the next head coach for the Chicago Bears. So that could be something that we hear about. It's Ben Johnson to the Raiders, Pete Carroll there. I know you don't want to lose Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you don't want to lose a offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. But I like him for a spot like Jacksonville for the Jaguars, because I still think the Jaguars, as annoying as Shad Khan, their owner, can be, and keeping a trifling GM like Trent Baalke around, you still have Trevor Lawrence. And I would like to see them get a young offensive mind, either like Liam Cohen or like Joe Brady from the Buffalo Bills. I could see one of them going to Jacksonville. But the Jets... You
still got Vance Joseph out there. You could bring Vance Joseph for a second crack at a head coaching job.
That's a realistic one I could see with the Jets. I could see somebody like that going to the New York Jets if they want to deal with it, if they think it's tolerable. But like, what is the appeal with the New York Jets? You don't like Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be back. Like, nobody wants him there. Garrett Wilson doesn't want him there.
I mean, based off of just recent success with their offense in Houston. I mean, you got Bobby Slowick, their OC in Houston.
That could be.
I mean, he's a young up-and-coming head coach. I think, like I said, this is going to draw a lot of parallels with Dallas. You're going to have a lot of these tenured, established head coaches who aren't going to want to deal with that situation, to where this is going to be a landing spot for an OC or a DC within the NFL, or maybe a head coach outside in college football, i.e. like a Mike Locksley, head coach for Maryland. Like maybe maybe he goes up there. But I think that's what you're going to see. It's going to be somebody taking their first crack, or somebody who's just desperate to get back to that role.
I'm seeing an insider predict Arthur Smith will land the Jets head coaching job. That would be funny. That would go great for players like Breece Hall.
Oh. Hey, bring for Breece Hall, bring in Matt Campbell, head coach for Iowa State.
That's actually I've been hearing his name for a long time as somebody that teams would be interested in for NFL head coaching spots. Matt Campbell could be like a sneaky sleeper pick for somebody, or
at least that's somebody who Breece Hall would immediately trust. I mean, he was the head coach when he was at Iowa State. So like, why not bring him in?
People keep looking at this college football championship that's coming up between Ohio State and Notre Dame as some head coaching opportunities for either team. I don't see Marcus Freeman, whether they win or lose. I don't see Marcus Freeman leaving Notre Dame quite yet.
If Marcus Freeman wins Notre Dame a national championship here the next a week away, he's going to have damn near a statue built for him in South Bend.
And he'll have any opportunity he wants over the next few years. That won't lose any momentum for him. He's 36, 35. Like, he's got all the time in the world. Ryan Day.
They haven't won a championship since 1988. If he wins a championship for Notre Dame, like, he's set. He doesn't have to go anywhere.
The one I see is Ohio State. If Ohio State wins, and we have been saying on College Shame Day, which you can watch every Saturday, you'll get your college championship preview coming up over in the next few days from College Shame Day. We've been saying that Ryan Day needs to win the championship. He has been proving me wrong, and he's had some great wins.
Can't keep getting away with this.
To get to this championship. If Ohio State wins and Ryan Day wins the championship for, this year and proves the doubters wrong, I could easily see him making the NFL jump and just taking the opportunity. Because how is it going to get any better?
Get out.
Yeah, just get the hell out like Jim Harbaugh did with Michigan. Won the championship, got out before any, it was other circumstances that were going to need him to get out of Michigan. But it got him an escape from the NCAA. But Ryan Day, like, what's going to happen? You're going to lose to Michigan next year in some pivotal game, and you're going to have everybody hating you immediately again and calling for your firing. Like, just get the hell out, take an NFL job, make the money, like Bobby Petrino, and then quit like at halftime of a game and go, coach, like get whatever college coaching job that you can. Jets could be that spot for him. Jets could be that spot. Dallas could be that spot for Ryan Day. So a little sleepy contender there. I know I would hate it with that painted beard in Dallas, but he looks like a good Cowboys coach.
I don't know. Gross.
Also, next. Robert Saleh to the Jaguars potentially. That's something that's becoming a big contender.
Really?
Apparently in Jacksonville. I thought he was just going to go back to the 49ers and be their defensive coordinator. I'm assuming that will be what he does if he doesn't get the Jags job. Apparently Jaguars are starting to really, really like him. Which
I could see him. I could see Brian Flores landing there. I really had Joe Brady going there, but Todd Monken from Baltimore. I think he'd be a really great fit in Jacksonville.
I like Saleh for a head coaching job if he can get a really good offensive coordinator with him. If you can, if you have a plan to get somebody to help out on the offense, boom, sure, let's maybe go with Saleh. Because otherwise, he's a really good guy, really solid coach. But offense and points were always an issue for him.
And I really don't. Last topic of conversations for Steve Spagnuolo. I don't see him leaving Kansas City. He is such an easy setup with Andy Reid. And I feel like for that franchise, Andy Reid's getting up there in age. He's probably going to want to retire soon before it gets too late. And you'd rather retain somebody of that magnitude in Steve Spagnuolo in house, so that way you can just do what you were intending to do with Bieniemy.